We're here tasting a lineup of your current releases or upcoming releases. Have these been released yet?
They have been
The
released,
2010s.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
And we're looking at a few back vintages of some of the labels as well. First of all, I want to talk to you a little bit about the flavor. You're slightly unique. There's not many people down this way in the Lindau subregion of the Barossa. Most people are up sort of towards Seppelsfield and Greenock, and certainly most people who are doing those sort of sub-regional expressions and things like that. You're down here in Lindau, and I'm really, really pleased to see you started putting Lindau on the labels as well. Talk to me a little bit about the fruit that you get here that's maybe a little bit special for this subregion.
Yeah, it's something that I guess we're still learning a lot about. We've done a number of tastings over the recent years of the sub-regional, we believe the sub-regional breakdowns of the Barossa Valley, south versus north and east versus west. We're still trying to map this out. Down this end of the valley, it seems that it's probably a little bit more fertile. There's more, in a normal year, we believe there's a higher rainfall down this way. Something like 23 inches in the Old Talk in the southern part versus maybe 21 up north, Nuriutpa. That's the trouble is a lot of the climatic data we have is normally over there at Nuriutpa or out at Rosedale on the flat, so it's not sort of down this way. But when you look at the topography and the vegetation around here, you can see that there is a fair bit more moisture around, and larger gum trees, and probably it's a lot more, I guess, undulating down this way as well.
Yeah.
With that, we didn't go search the world to find Lindau as being the place to make wine, but we had a family vineyard to take fruit from, and I enjoyed driving the tractor out there as a kid, and then I thought maybe, actually my mum thought maybe I'd like to learn how to make wine. So listening to Mum, I spent some time at Yalumba to think, if this was really the path I wanted to go. But down this way, we probably see maybe, it's a bit hard to actually say without having experience in all the other sub-regions of the Barossa, but we get good acidity, there's good acid retention. Funny thing is, when we start harvesting Shiraz in the Barossa Valley, it's typically down this end where we start.
Yep.
Now, what we said before, in higher rainfall and maybe somewhat cooler conditions, doesn't sort of reflect the right reasoning behind that. But when we do start with Shiraz, it is down this way, and that may be part of the reason we get this retention of acidity. And the flavours, we probably see more dark cherry rather than the ripe plum, where we see more ripe plum.
I can certainly see that on this lineup of wines, yes.
So we got a lot to learn. There's not many little wineries down this way. Quite a lot of vineyards, but the vineyards would typically be blended with other vineyards to make Barossa Shiraz. So it's our little point of difference, and we do find, there's a word that does flitter about for the southern part of the Barossa to say maybe there's some elegance to the style, and it's a word I like, but I have difficulty using it sometimes because...
Well, I find a real purity to the fruit actually as well. There's a sort of a real line of freshness that goes through them, perhaps the acidity there, but also maybe more of that red fruit spectrum, even from the warmer years, and a real sort of purity, maybe finesse as well, or elegance to the wines. But you don't really get that sort of more sort of baked fruit kind of character that you get further to the north, or the sort of almost spice cake character or fruit cake character that you sometimes get on those wines. It's just a lovely freshness, almost crushed berry kind of aromas and flavors that you get when the wines are first bottled.
I like hearing that. No, it's good. We don't have any magic wand or anything, but I guess it's our stamp that we put on the fruit here. Most wine sits in barrel for around 18 months. Some of the Oscar Semler reserve label might be 22 months in oak. And we use a combination of French and American oak, where years ago you had a standard recipe in the Barossa Valley that Shiraz had to go to American oak and Cabernet went to French oak. Well, we've broken that mould, which is great. And we've still got a lot more to learn about how to grow Shiraz and make yummy wines out of that variety, because it grows so easily here. Normal conditions being dry during the harvest and quite warm, Shiraz just seems to tick along pretty nicely. With some other varieties, they don't like that heat and dry conditions that we normally experience here. So yeah, we've still got plenty to learn with it, but most of what we do is off a single vineyard that belongs to the family. And since building our little winery here, we've taken a fair bit of interest in the vineyards along God's Hill Road here. There's great soil differences from east to west along this little dirt strip. It only goes for 2 kilometres, and on the western side there's a lot of sand and ironstone and even some granite patches, and on the east side is beautiful red-brown earth, and we see a fair bit of variation in the flavours of that fruit, but we've probably messed it up a little bit by putting it all together in our God's Hill Road wine. One vineyard that gives us most of that fruit is off a sandy ironstone hillside here, and yeah, it ends up with a lot of interesting flavours. I guess when we combine the three, there's 6 little vineyards along the 2 kilometre strip. Our thought was that there's 50 metre elevation difference between this little road here and where most of the fruit grows down on the flat. Maybe it was going to give us some different characters what we would find on our vineyard. So
This is a lovely wine. It's really absolutely gorgeous. And I was quite surprised actually to look at the price point after I tasted it and see it's quite a modestly priced wine as well. You've got a lot of concentration there, not a whole lot of heat or weight, or it's not a huge big wine. It's quite an elegant wine, but packs in the flavor. And it's that purity of fruit that I was talking about before. It's almost like somebody's just taken some blackberries and black cherries and crushed them up and put them in the glass there. Wonderfully pure, a little bit perfumed, and yet it's got this great line in there. I love the structure of it. You haven't been shy. It's nice ripe tannins clearly in 2010. And you've pulled out a relatively high level of very finely grained tannins, nice fresh acid, giving it lift, and a beautifully long finish. It's a great wine for that modest price. Is it a real community here in the Barossa, would you say? Is it a real sort of like a big sort of family unit here?
it is.
Yeah.
I probably don't feel it as much as I used to, and that's because now we've got our own little shed that we sit in during the day. But when I was working at places like Cellamasters, where we had contact with many other wineries all the time, not just here in the Barossa, but in the Carn Vale, there really is a community here. Got a lad here, Nathan, who works with me, and what's he do on a Friday night? Goes, has beers with all the other winemakers.
Yeah, and a good gossip,
Yeah, catch up on all the news.
The great thing is that, in these days of social media and everything like that, you can follow the gossip really on Twitter feeds and things like that. And I think sometimes people forget the world is sort of peeking in on everything that they say and do. But I get this wonderful sense about the region and the area, the young people, sort of following in the footsteps of their fathers, their grandfathers, or even coming in new to the region with fresh eyes and bringing something else in.
Yeah.
And it's really exciting for me, and this is one of the reasons why I really wanted to come back to the Barossa again this year and take another look, see some of the fresh new faces, and see what some of the people who've been here like yourself for some time now are doing now to make your wines even better. I love the sense of community and the family spirit, that wine is not just a commodity here. It's not just a business or a means to an end, but it's a way of life and a lifestyle too. And one of the great things that I love about you is this book, because that sort of encompasses that, doesn't it? You've written this wonderful book that's been beautifully illustrated by Paul Cassidy. My Dad Has Purple Hands. And it's just such a fun read for me. I was speaking to you before about it, because I had a quick read of it, and it's sort of in a kind of rhyme, isn't it, with a beat to it, a little bit in the same vein as books like The Gruffalo and things like that I know my daughter loves, and for that reason, children particularly love it. But then children around here and all over Australia, whose dads and mums work making wine for a living, love this book because they recognize everything that's going on in here. And the other thing that struck me reading it, it's almost like a winemaking guide 101, isn't it? Because you take it from start to finish, the grapes coming in, and the crushing of the grapes, and the stomping of them, if that's what you do, and then putting them into barrel, and then tasting the wines. And And one of my favorite bits in here is that picture of all of the sort of bastions of the wine. Yeah, the boys in the wine industry here, sort of lined up like at the Last Supper. And you've got all of the characters. These are real people having a sort of good old jolly. And that's exactly what happens.
It does happen.
Yeah.
There's a dinner coming up soon. It's called the Generations Lunch. It happens each year in December. And it's about all the Barossa folk, winemakers, and their parents all getting together around a table and chewing the fat, having a taste of wine and gossiping, catching up with the latest news. And it's a great event, and many folk are there with their parents, but it's generally, the winemaker's chance just to catch up before Christmas, because right now there's a lot of them travelling around selling their wares and telling their story, and it's a good opportunity to all get together before the Christmas break. But it's funny, the book's worked extremely well. It's not about Dutschke Wines, and it's not even about the Barossa Valley. It's about any region that's famous for dark purple wine. And each year, or every second year I should say, there's a vintage festival here in the Barossa Valley. And it's a great event. It's a fantastic event. It finishes with a procession where all the winemakers pull out old trucks out of the sheds. Sometimes the trucks are still out of the sheds after vintage. And they dress them up and they head down the road one behind the other. And we've got an old Bedford. There's a picture of it in the book.
We do that in America. We do. I grew up in the sticks of Maine. Yeah, we do that too.
But we dressed up the truck this time, or last time, for the Vintage Festival Parade. Not about Dutschke Wines, but we dressed it up as the Purple Hands. And we had actually this couch on the back of the truck, some barrels, and we were reading the book, and you could hear kids along the pathway, along the road, saying, "Oh, I've read that book, I've seen that, oh, look at that."
Oh,
and then one kid yelled out, "I've seen that movie." So maybe that's the next step.
Purple Hands, the movie. As I was saying to you before, I need to write the sequel to this book. My mom has purple teeth. So I'm always walking around with purple teeth from tasting all of the wines. And you know what? This for me, and looking at this book, speaking to you, meeting all of the people in the Barossa community over the last week is what wine is and should be about.
Definitely.
It is about lifestyle. It's about community. It's about everyone from the kids to the grandparents, everything getting together and making a wonderful, wonderful gift to the world. And this is a real high for me to finish off this week on. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lisa. Thanks
Wayne
very much for
Dutschke.
that.